What the mainstream media is calling a setback might just be the most brilliant political chess move we've seen in decades. Matt Gaetz' sudden withdrawal as Attorney General nominee sent shockwaves through Washington today, but within hours, Trump unveiled his next move. Pam Bondi, the same establishment figures who were celebrating Gates' exit, are now realizing they may have been walked right into a trap. Even CNN's Scott Jennings called it a massive upgrade. But there's something much bigger happening here. Something the political elite doesn't want you to understand about why this switch happened exactly when it did. And just as Trump knows the importance of strength in leadership, you know the importance of personal strength. But like the attacks on our political system, your testosterone levels are under constant assault. That's why Sculpt Nation created Test Boost Max, designed specifically for men who refuse to back down. While the establishment tries to weaken America, you don't have to accept weakness in your own life. Join the thousands of patriots who've reclaimed their masculine energy with Test Boost Max. Visit sculptnation.com/NNN now and save up to 51% off on your first order. Fight back against the war on masculinity. Okay, so this was not like on my bingo card today. I did not expect this happening. I was all gung-ho. Matt Gaetz, let's go. Let's head that DOJ. Let's tear the curtain back. Let's reveal the inner sanctum of all the lies. And then he backs out. I'm not sure what's going on. A lot of people are saying this is a big 4D chess move. Remember, Gaetz just resigned from Congress, accepted the nomination for AG, and now he's backed out. So now he's no longer in Congress. His seat is vacant, so that seat has to be appointed. What happens next? Well, let's take a look at what they just said. President Trump's AG nominee, now Pam Bondi, they're saying we'll deliver a return to normalcy. Let's listen.
Crisis. I think that a major part of this vote was a rejection of this lawfare weaponization. The American people are fair-minded people who want a justice system that reflects integrity, not targeting political opponents to get them out of the election, to use some means other than the ballot. We need a return to normalcy here. This has been the most politicized Department of Justice that I've ever seen, and that's shocking coming from Judge Garland. But when he tried to invoke privilege, for example, on the Robert Hur Biden tape, it's absolutely outrageous for a person to do that. Everything has been politicized. I want to tell you one other thing, though, to tie in with what Katie said. We shouldn't forget that Attorney General Bondi has also fought very hard against the opioid crisis. So she understands the link between health and criminal activity and all of that. So that's another big plus, I think.
President Trump, Matt Gaetz responding, he says, Pam Bondi is a stellar selection by President Trump for Attorney General. Pam and I worked closely together when she was Florida's Attorney General, and I chaired criminal justice in the state house. She's a proven litigator, an inspiring leader, and a champion for all. And here's the news as it broke.
The United States. Breaking tonight, a lot happening during this show. Just announced, the president-elect has selected Pam Bondi as the next Attorney General of the United States. I'll read from this announcement from the president-elect. I'm proud to announce former Attorney General of the great state of Florida, Pam Bondi, as our next Attorney General of the United States. Pam was a prosecutor for nearly 20 years, where she was very tough on violent criminals and made the streets safe for Florida families. Then, as Florida's first female Attorney General, she worked to stop the trafficking of deadly drugs and reduce the tragedy of fentanyl overdoses deaths, which have destroyed many families in our country. She did such an incredible job that I asked her to serve as our Opioid and Drug Abuse Commission. During my first term, we saved many lives. Again, he goes on to say she's smart and tough and is America First fighter who will do a terrific job as Attorney General. Again, Pam Bondi from Florida, the next nominee for President-elect Trump, who obviously saw today that Matt Gaetz pulled his name from nomination as the votes were not there on Capitol Hill in the Senate for Matt Gaetz as Attorney General. Pam Bondi, now the name that.
Okay, but the votes weren't there. But what if there were recess appointments? I mean, you don't need votes. Why are we playing this game? I don't understand. Mags says, okay, 4D chess happened here, not 100%, but Gaetz knew this was going to happen. Slightly offensive reporting, Gaetz out, Trump picks new attorney general. Trump has picked former Attorney General of Florida, Pam Bondi, as Attorney General. Vigilant Fox. CNN's Scott Jennings calls Trump's new AG pick, Pam Bondi, a massive upgrade. Let's listen.
Real process.
Is this just a confirmation that would essentially sail through, Scott, or not?
Well, I don't think you could consider anybody, just they're going to sail without any kind of real process. She's going to have to go through a process like everybody else. But I can tell you this is a massive upgrade. I've talked to a couple people up on the Hill already. There's a sigh of relief that now we have somebody here, two-term AG, strong record on drug enforcement and opioid issues, a total hawk on immigration, politically supportive of Trump, obviously. I don't know a Republican in the country who doesn't love Pam Bondi. So you were starting with Gaetz, a nominee who was underwater significantly to start and was going to always be hard to get to the surface. Mm-hmm. With Bondi, I do think you're starting above water. And as long as she performs in her hearings, and look, this is somebody who's been through 2 elections in a really big state. And so a lot of public vetting of her has gone on already. So I think this is a great move by Trump to be pragmatic and tell Gaetz to get out, and a really good move to go with Bondi. This is not a shaky limb. This is a sturdy branch he's going with for AG here.
Wow. Totally unexpected today. Here's Roger Stone congratulating her. Pam was a great Attorney General of Florida. She'll be a great Attorney General of the United States. I'm confident she will clean out the nest of corruption at our currently politicized DOJ. There's Roger Stone and Pam Bondi. And apparently this is triggering a massive meltdown over at MSNBC. I love to watch it, and you can too. Here we are.
To what bring you back in, Jason. I say that with all accuracy and fairness. On paper, her state-level experience is much closer to what presidents in both parties have sought at the DOJ. That's a huge difference with Matt Gaetz. The political part, though, is different. Right. And then what I bring to you is, and Juanita mentioned it, you have that political history, and you have a proposed number 2, a deputy attorney general who recently handled Donald Trump's criminal defense. So if this were the team, and they have to go through vetting and confirmation, but if this were the team, this would be 2 of the most politically defensive lawyers of the personal capacity of an incoming president we've ever seen running DOJ at the same time.
All right, I completely agree. And quite frankly, my thought is that after Gaetz dropped out, it would be essentially somebody from Trump's legal team. It would be like a Jay Sekulow or somebody like that. I assume that's where he would get these people from. Unlike William Barr, even going back to when we were all kids and like Janet Reno, right? Occasionally attorney generals try to behave like they are not the personal lawyer of the president of the United States. That is completely out the window. Pam Bondi is exactly what I was saying in the last segment that we should all fear, because she's competent. We may not agree with her ideologically, but she actually knows how to do this job. So if anyone on the Democratic side or anyone who cared about liberty or justice was thinking, well, maybe Matt Gaetz will screw this up and that'll give us some time. No, Pam Bondi knows what she's doing. She knows what she's doing about immigration. Remember, Florida is one of those states that's been very aggressive about migrants and deportation and moving people to different states and everything else like that. Florida has enacted all sorts of rules and laws to curtail students and what they can do on campuses and finding legal justifications for manipulating education money. She is a dangerous and effective pick, and that's frankly worse than what we would have got with Matt Gaetz, even with the deplorable moral background that he has.
Wow. Oh yeah. So Owen Schroyer posted this today. We'll get to that in a second. But Adam Lowitz, a friend of mine, he says, as I predicted, Matt Gaetz was going to be the most difficult appointment for Trump to get through. Matt is a very competent person who would have got the job done, but unfortunately controversies surrounding him, whether warranted or not, were a drag on his appointment. Let's hear Owen Schroyer's take.
Well, folks, there you have it. It didn't take John Thune very long to show his true colors as the Senate Majority Leader, did it? Now, I said I was willing to give him a chance. I predicted that this would be the case, but his chance is over. He's blown it. Make no mistake about it. The reason why Matt Gaetz is dropping out of the Attorney General consideration is because John Thune refuses to rally the Republicans in the Senate that will have the majority to get Matt Gaetz confirmed. So John Thune gets an F as the Senate Majority Leader, and I doubt he will do anything to change that in the future. If anything, his F grade will continue to be certified. Now, let's explain what's really going on here. The Republicans are going to have 53 senators for a majority in the next congressional session. But here's the problem. They actually don't have 53 and that majority because Susan Collins and Lisa Murkowski have made it clear with their comments this week, and I'm guessing their comments behind the scenes, that they are not going to be on the Trump agenda, and they used their Senate votes and the power of their votes to influence John Thune and Matt Gaetz to drop out of the Senate race, the Attorney General consideration. So no, Republicans don't have a 53 majority in the Senate. They have a 50. John Thune is not with the Trump agenda, and Susan Collins and Lisa Murkowski are clearly going to be against the Trump agenda. So that 53-seat majority has quickly been whittled down to 50, and we haven't even started the next Congress yet. This is the reality of the situation. John Thune is responsible for not confirming Matt Gaetz. Now, whatever's going on with the claims, the allegations against Matt Gaetz weren't even enough for the Biden DOJ to go after him for charges. So how legitimate or serious can they be if the Biden DOJ would not even consider these allegations to go after Gaetz with charges? And yet, the holier than thou, all of a sudden, Republicans in the Senate that are purist when it comes to this now, not anything else, not the border, not transgender bathrooms, not anything else, but this? No. This is all about blocking the Trump agenda. This is all about sending a message to Trump that he's going to have to bend to the will of the Senate, and they are not going to be bending to the will of him. So this is now the political warfare that's happening inside the Republican Party because John Thune, Lisa Murkowski, and Susan Collins refused to get on the Trump agenda. So this is pathetic. And if you're out there saying, oh, well, you know, these Gaetz allegations, well, you clearly don't understand what's going on in D.C., do you? You clearly have no idea the Democrats' agenda and how they operate. In case you haven't noticed, the Democrats are engaged in all-out political warfare. And you're telling me now is the time for Republicans to sit on some fake moral high ground and some fake purism and say, oh, we can't deal with this, these allegations, we can't confirm. Bullshit. Pathetic. So the Democrats are fighting with guns, and the Republicans are fighting with pencils politically. So John Thune, F, Susan Collins, Lisa Murkowski might as well be Democrats. The swamp wins again. A bad day for the Trump agenda. Matt Gaetz drops out of Attorney General confirmation. So now what happens? Does he become senator? Does Ron DeSantis fill Marco Rubio's seat with Matt Gaetz? I certainly hope so, because he's already given up his seat in the House. So that's the only way forward from here.
Good point. Very good point. With Marco Rubio going to Secretary of State, it could have been a 4D chess move. The whole thing. Give Gaetz a reason to resign from Congress. Put him in the AG role. Oh, I guess we're going to back out of the AG role. And now we're going to put Pam Bondi in there, and that Senate seat is open. That's a serious 4D chess move to just automatically transplant Gaetz from the House of Representatives to the Senate. Oh man, wouldn't that be something? Oh, that would just put them all on notice. Let's see here. Where is, okay, we have this one here. Segeza Eterna. What did they threaten him with? Who threatened him? Did they threaten his family? We must get to the bottom of this. Well, I mean, it could be this 4D chess move. It certainly could be. Who's up for Trump's AG post? Well, now we know Pam Bondi. 12 hours ago, Matt Gaetz said, I had excellent meetings with senators yesterday. I appreciate their thoughtful feedback and the incredible support of so many. While the momentum was strong, it is clear that my confirmation was unfairly becoming a distraction to the critical work of the Trump-Vance administration. Leading report states that it was Mitch McConnell, Lisa Murkowski, John Curtis, and Susan Collins who did not have the support behind Gaetz. J.D. Vance posting this 9 hours ago. I'm extremely grateful for the work Matt put into the nomination process. He made his decision to withdraw entirely out of respect for President Trump's administration. Matt is a patriot, and I look forward to seeing what he does next. What do you know, Vance? What do you know? I mean, could this all have been just like totally calculated to put Gaetz in the Senate? It certainly could be. Let's listen to what Steve Bannon had to say on this matter.
One of those guys with if we are where we are now, what is the future then for the AG pick? We know that you've weighed in very heavily for Matt. I think that Matt Gaetz would be a fantastic AG. He's withdrawn himself. That's obviously his right to do. And so MAGA's got to step back, and we certainly need someone. Look, we need someone in this mold. We need someone.
Okay, so obviously this was broadcast before Pam Bondi, but let's listen to what Bannon has to say.
Going to take the fight to them. I don't need some establishment Bill Barr type lawyer coming in here.
Look, this came down to you had a couple of establishment guys that had run big law firms that I think President Trump had confidence in. None of those guys were the fire breathers. You know, you had Bob Gifford and Jay Clayton, who were publicly announced. They're both terrific lawyers. Both have run Sullivan and Cromwell. The president knows them very well. They are, they are one aspect and kind of one line of work. Then you had the state AGs led by Andrew Bailey, and Bailey is still, obviously shortlisted for potentially the FBI director. And then I think you've got to look. I think there's a couple other, what I would say, kind of fighter. No one's in the class of Matt Gaetz. I mean, he's uniquely qualified to do this, and we just have to understand. You're not going to get Gaetz. That doesn't mean Gaetz can't be named as a special prosecutor on something. Gaetz can't have some role going forward, so people shouldn't despair totally. But I think maybe you got to look at the House. You maybe look at the Senate. Some people that are out there in private practice. You got to get a fighter, and there's a couple of fighters out there. No one at the level of Gaetz. No one can deliver the punch of Gaetz. No one has the strategic vision of Gaetz. But we are where we are. I think this person really ought to be not just vetted, but I think more importantly, they've got to be in sync with the president and where he wants to go with the Department of Justice, and particularly Maine.
Well, I think we know now exactly what it is. I mean, obviously, Pam Bondi was the choice. Malcolm Flex posting this. The Matt Gaetz decision to resign from being appointed as AG has all the makings of an art of the deal, big ask type situation. Lots of intel on the snakes in the Senate has been gained. If he had been allowed to go through, that'd be perfect, but we have options. Let's listen to what this guy has to say.
Not motivated by hidden business agendas, but more so idealistically driven by, let's say, making America great again. Let's call that an ideology. Maybe we didn't get that guy, but we got a couple of things out of this. Number one, Matt Gaetz said that he had a call with a couple of senators. Those senators said he was being a distraction. He can now name names, and don't think that he hasn't passed those names on to Trump, because a big thorn in the side of the agenda is currently the Senate. So I wonder what moves are going to be made and who's outed themselves. We've already seen people like Josh Hawley fully out themselves as, I'm not going to say necessarily swamp creatures, but having conflicting interests. So who else is in that camp? Who else made a call? So we know that. But then also you have the situation of, well, Matt Gaetz really only resigned from his current 2024 term, which is almost up. He already won a re-election for 2025 and beyond. So he can just start resuming his term there. That's sort of a, we didn't really gain much other than intel. But then you also have the idea of possibly Matt Gaetz being appointed to the Senate, which would actually be a great gain because right now our current problem is the Senate. So if you appoint Matt Gaetz to the Senate, now he can be a thorn in the side of those troublesome senators. And while, yes, one senator is not going to move the needle, getting Rubio out there and into a fireable position was a great move, and getting Matt Gaetz to fill his vacancy and then maybe moving another young up-and-comer into what was Matt Gaetz's seat.
Wow.
Maybe we are, maybe we gained something. I just want to put it out there, though. The point here is that Matt Gaetz was the big ask. Now we're going to settle down to earth on our real demands. Ken Paxton, maybe Mike Lee. Okay, I doubt Mike Lee because you really don't want to dilute the Senate any further when you need Make America Great Again allies there. But just, getting the gears turning in your head a little bit. You know what I mean?
Everyone's saying it right now. Everyone's saying it. Oh, and remember Ronna Romney McDaniel? Yeah, well, she works for CNN now. Perfect landing spot for her. She went on CNN to celebrate Matt Gaetz withdrawing.
Action is as follows. Former Republican National Committee Chair Ronna McDaniel. She ran the RNC during Trump's entire first term in office and for most of Joe Biden's presidency as well. Thank you so much for being here. I want to, before I get your reaction, read to you and to our viewers what Donald Trump just said. His reaction is as following. I greatly appreciate the recent efforts of Matt Gaetz in seeking approval to be Attorney General. He was doing very well, but at the same time did not want to be a distraction for the administration, for which he has much respect. Matt has a wonderful future, and I look forward to watching all of the great things he will do.
In the Senate, right? Oh, man. Oh, if he lands in the Senate, folks, brilliant move. Brilliant move.
What's your reaction to first of all, just the withdrawal?
I think the numbers weren't there. He came here, he met with senators, they started doing the math. It was becoming a distraction. This was dominating the news. We were seeing the drip, drip, drip. And he did what I think is the right thing. He put his loyalty to the president first. He said, I don't want to be a distraction to this administration and getting the work done that President Trump needs to get done, and I'm going to withdraw my name. And I think a lot of people agree with this decision.
Okay, there was talk of having Laura Trump take Rubio's seat, but I could easily see how they could draw a line back to Trump, it being some sort of nepotistic move. But what we're witnessing now, Matt Gaetz is appointed to Rubio's seat. Oh, hell no.
You were around, and I'm sure you had encounters with Matt Gaetz as the chair of the party. Just kind of taking a step back, the idea that he made some enemies in the House where he served and the United States Senate. How did that play into this?
Yeah, I think it was hard for some of these senators and others. He trolled them. He went after them. He wasn't going to win a congeniality contest. And then suddenly he's in a position where he's saying, I need your support and I need your vote. The one thing I can say about Matt Gaetz is he is unequivocally loyal to Donald Trump. And he always has been. He's been steadfast. And I think President Trump has said often the biggest mistake he felt he made in that first term was Jeff Sessions. I've heard him say it was my mistake 1 through 10. So this position is very important to him. And to have an attorney general who's going to be loyal, who's going to have his back, who's going to understand what President Trump wants to get done is critical. Matt Gaetz fit that mold, but he found himself in a position where he couldn't get the votes.
I want to broaden it out a little beyond.
But maybe that was all intentional. Maybe they knew it. Maybe the whole long game here was to put him in the Senate. Oh man, I want to see that so bad.
Gaetz, several of his picks have faced or are facing sexual assault or misconduct allegations. Pete Hegseth is dealing with this right now. RFK Jr., one of his top allies, Elon Musk, was sued by former employees who claimed that they were fired for raising concerns about sexual harassment at his company, SpaceX. What do you make of that common thread?
What do I make of it? These are common attack vectors from the left that they always employ. Okay, remember Kavanaugh. That's all I got to say. Remember Kavanaugh.
I think this is important to have a Senate. I mean, this is why they have to give advice and consent. And let's let the process play out. There's all these stories coming out. They haven't been convicted of any of these things. I think it's important for the senators to take this job very seriously. Also to give good advice to the president and to say, you need to go into these picks with eyes wide open and understand what damage they may do and what baggage they bring to this administration. I think they're going to do it in a very considerate way. They're going to do it.
Okay, I've had enough of her. Enough of her. Here's the moment a day ago that the House Ethics Committee, they finished its meeting and agreed not to release the report that detailed the allegations against Gaetz.
Mr. Chairman, do you guys vote to release this report? Are you going to
Look at all those people, all that press, just foaming at the mouth to take out Matt Gaetz, to be the first to report. Here is when the news broke.
Is stepping down from his nomination to Attorney General of the United States. Many said this was the most contentious of the nominations made by former President Trump. And he has announced categorically that he will not be seeking confirmation to the post of Attorney General. Here are his words. I had an excellent meeting with senators yesterday. I appreciate their thoughtful feedback and the incredible support of so many. While the momentum was strong, it is clear that my confirmation was unfairly becoming a distraction to the critical work of the Trump-Vance transition. There's no time to waste on a needlessly protracted Washington scuffle. Thus, I'll be withdrawing my name from consideration to serve as Attorney General. Trump's DOJ must be in place and ready on day one. I remain fully committed to seeing that Donald J. Trump is the most successful president in history. Look, Griff.
All these public statements, I just have to say, considering the 4D chess move of putting Gaetz in the Senate, I just feel this is all window dressing. I mean, if this actually comes to pass, with Gaetz going in the Senate, all these, fancy messages are just window dressing. And the press eats it up. But no one's thinking outside the box. That's why I'm showing you some of these other posts of people, influencers and people on X who are looking deeper into this than the press actually is. Gunter Eagleman, Trump just nominated Pam Bondi, and for too long the partisan Department of Justice has been weaponized against me and other Republicans. Not anymore. Pam will refocus the DOJ to its intended purpose of fighting crime and making America safe. DC Drano, even shocked, especially since he resigned from Congress. What the hell happened here? Well, if what people are saying is true, and Gaetz goes into the Senate, that's what happened here. Trump nominating former Florida Attorney General Pam Bondi as his new Attorney General nominee. MAGA Scotty, I feel like this was by design. What was the secret that Trump and Gaetz had? What was the secret? Maybe the intended things to happen like this, still very confusing. Again, I go back to this, what other people are saying, and I'm leaning on the Senate appointment. Trump team had to expect a ton of resistance to Matt Gaetz when he was nominated, so maybe, just maybe, this is part of a bigger, stronger plan. Vegas dealer says, I sure hope so. Gaetz stepping back might just be the strategic retreat of a master chess player, or perhaps the realization that the AG gig wasn't the right fit for this brand of chaos. Dana Loesch calling Pam Bondi a great pick, quote tweeting and wokeness with this throwback of Pam Bondi as Florida AG. Let's listen to what she had to say.
Texas, these criminals made one very big mistake. They wound up in Polk County. And I'll tell you, it's bad enough in one thing to profit from poisoning others, but it's another when you bring drugs from Mexico into our country, California, Texas, Georgia, and end up in our state and do it with impunity. Because when you're in this country illegally and you're doing things illegally, I want to tell you, and you wind up in Polk County, Grady Judd is going to find you, the DEA is going to help them, and my statewide prosecutors are going to lock you up for as long as we can.
And we're going to.
Wow. Trump War Room. President Trump announces the nomination of Pam Bondi. Lindsey Graham saying, "Well done, Mr. President, picking Pam Bondi for Attorney General's a grand slam, touchdown, hole-in-one, ace, hat trick, slam dunk, Olympic gold medal pick. She'll be confirmed quickly because she deserves to be confirmed quickly." So Lindsey Graham clearly on board. And, of course, we have the meltdowns happening at MSNBC. So what do you guys think? I mean, do you think that this was a strategic move to put Matt Gaetz in the Senate? Oh, man. I just can't wait to see it. Oh, man. The heads are going to explode when that happens. Oh, I pray it does. Okay, friends. So there it is. What looks like a retreat might actually be Trump's most strategic advance yet. Now, Bondi brings a perfect combination of experience and loyalty with none of the baggage the establishment could exploit. But here's what everyone's missing. While the media focuses on players, they're completely overlooking the game that's being played. And speaking of games, our new Mega Avengers collection at shop.nextnewsnetwork.com is available now, perfect for showing your support for Trump's DOJ cleanup operation. Now, the question we need to be asking isn't why Gaetz stepped back. It's what role he might play next in Trump's administration. Could this be setting up something even bigger? Share your theories in the comments below. Was this a strategic withdrawal, or did the deep state claim another scalp?